Welcome, aficionados of true crime mysteries. On that fateful August morning in 1982, Watts prowled the quiet suburban neighborhood of Houston, searching for his next victim. He approached the home of 27-year-old Linda Tilley, a young nurse and mother of two. Watts broke into Linda's home and attacked her while she slept. He brutally stabbed her multiple times before fleeing the scene. Unfortunately, Linda did not survive the savage assault. Linda Tilley's murder sent shockwaves through the community, and law enforcement launched an intensive investigation. Witnesses reported seeing a suspicious man in the area, but Watts had managed to elude capture. Watts was a cunning predator who left no clear patterns in his crimes, making it difficult for investigators to connect the dots. His victims were from different backgrounds, and he used various methods, including strangulation, stabbing, and bludgeoning. Despite being a prime suspect in multiple murders, Watts managed to avoid being charged with any of them. He was arrested for burglary in Michigan in 1982, but was not connected to any homicides at that time. Frustratingly, the lack of concrete evidence and a legal loophole in Michigan's justice system allowed Watts to escape the possibility of murder charges. He struck a deal to plead guilty to a lesser charge and was sentenced to just 60 days in jail. While in prison, Watts began cooperating with law enforcement, confessing to the murders of 13 women in Texas and Michigan. His willingness to provide details about the crimes led to the closure of several unsolved cases. In exchange for his cooperation, Watts received a 60-year prison sentence. However, this sentence was deemed controversial by many, as it allowed him the possibility of parole after serving only a fraction of his time. Coral Eugene Watts was born in Killeen, Texas, and spent his early years in the state. He had a turbulent childhood, marked by instability and family issues. Watts reportedly displayed signs of behavioral problems and cruelty towards animals at a young age, warning signs of potential psychopathy. Watts' criminal tendencies became evident during his teenage years. He was implicated in a series of burglaries and thefts, and his violent behavior escalated over time. By the time he reached his early 20s, he had already committed several violent assaults on women. Watts embarked on a killing spree in the early 1980s, earning him the moniker of the Sunday morning slasher. He targeted women, often strangers, and used various methods to murder them, including strangulation, stabbing, and bludgeoning. His victims spanned several states, including Michigan and Texas. One of the unsettling aspects of Watts' crimes was his ability to evade law enforcement for years. He left little evidence behind, and his victims seemed to have no connection to each other, making it difficult for investigators to establish a pattern or motive. Watts' reign of terror ended in 1982 when he was arrested in Michigan for burglary. While in custody, he began cooperating with authorities and confessed to a series of murders. His detailed confessions provided investigators with crucial information about the crimes. Watts' legal proceedings were marked by controversy. He was charged with a single murder in Michigan, but struck a plea deal to plead guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter, which resulted in a sentence of just 60 days in jail. This sentence was seen as a miscarriage of justice, as it allowed him to avoid murder charges for his other victims. While in prison, Watts continued to cooperate with law enforcement and confessed to the murders of 13 women in Texas and Michigan. His willingness to provide details about the crimes led to the closure of several cold cases. Coral Eugene Watts died of prostate cancer in a Michigan prison on September 21, 2007. His death effectively ended his killing spree and left many unanswered questions about the extent of his crimes and the lives he had taken. Coral Eugene Watts, the Sunday morning slasher, was a complex and enigmatic serial killer. Some intriguing facts about him. Watts is believed to be responsible for the deaths of at least 13 women, although some estimates suggest the number of his victims could be much higher. His crimes spanned multiple states, including Texas and Michigan. One of the most unsettling aspects of Watts' crimes was his ability to evade capture for an extended period. His victims appeared to have no connection to each other, and he left minimal evidence at the crime scenes, making it challenging for investigators to establish a pattern. Watts' capture was precipitated by a survivor of one of his attacks. Tony Harris managed to escape and provided crucial information to the police. This led to Watts' arrest and eventual cooperation with law enforcement. Watts' legal proceedings were controversial. He struck a plea deal in Michigan, pleading guilty to manslaughter in one case, which resulted in a mere 60-day jail sentence. Many saw this as an injustice, allowing him to escape more severe charges for his other murders. While in prison, Watts cooperated extensively with law enforcement, confessing to multiple murders and providing detailed accounts of his crimes. His willingness to provide information helped close several cold cases. Watts' life took a turn in his final years when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He died in prison from this illness on September 21, 2007, putting an end to his reign of terror. Watts' case continues to be studied by psychologists and criminologists. His ability to compartmentalize his violent acts and his apparent lack of a clear motive for his crimes have made him a subject of interest in the field of criminal psychology. The legacy of Coral Eugene Watts continues to haunt the memories of the families of his victims and the communities he terrorized. His ability to blend into society, combined with his extreme violence, serves as a chilling reminder of the capacity for darkness that can exist within certain individuals. Until next time, stay vigilant and curious.